Well, we'll go ahead and get started. And then, as I always tell everybody, at the end of the interview, I will send you an email. It usually takes a couple hours because I have to decompress the video and that sort
Hmm.
or the audio. And then I'll send it to you. I'll post it up on YouTube and I'll give you all the links. So if you want to share it, you can do that.
Okay.
All right, awesome. So we'll go ahead and get started. And again, Michelle, I appreciate you taking the time with me today.
Mhm.
So do you want to tell everybody just a little bit about who you are?
Well, my name's Michelle Prince. I live in Minnesota, and I've been writing I've been published for a little over a decade now, and I like to write in a lot of different genres. So that's kind of I just get distracted by things, and so I end up writing another genre or another series. I do say I'm a serial hoe because I can never let anybody go. It seems like all my standalones turn into series anymore. So I gave up even trying to say I'm writing a standalone. And that's kind of who I am. I like to write heroines. If I'm writing romance, I like to write heroines that want their hero, but they don't need them. So it's kind of my
Gotcha.
thing.
That's awesome. So, what are the exact genres that you write in? I know you say you kind of dabble in multiples. What are the ones that you do write in?
I do write in young adult fantasy adventure. I also have a new adult paranormal romance series, sci-fi romance, a lot of contemporary romance. I have a bodyguard series. I have a MC series, another MC series. I have a couple different ones of those. I have a sports series because I do a lot of sports romance. And then I have paranormal, adult paranormal, I guess would be the way to say it, as well as a cozy mystery. So I think that's all of
Wow,
them. Yeah.
that's awesome. So you've been writing a little over a decade, and in that decade that you've been, or a little over a decade that you've been writing, all of these different genres, how many books have you written? Do you know a total?
Um, I think I'm published about 65 now. I think that's how
Wow,
many I've got
congratulations.
published. Thanks.
That's a large number.
Yeah, it kind of
Do you,
catches up to you.
I'm sure. I have 5 that are coming out. I've already had what did I have come out this year? 2 already? 1 or 2? I don't know. See, my brain's not with the program. But I have 5 more that are coming out from August to December 23rd. So I get where you're coming from. I mean, you just kind of get I'm not going to say
Yeah.
burnout, but you get kind of tired, especially when you have that many coming out. And then 65, that's a lot of books.
Yeah.
So,
It
but
helps.
congratulations to you.
Yeah, it helps having the same characters. I have my own, I have the different worlds and I just kind of bounce between them basically.
Now, are you self-published or do you have a publisher?
I'm a hybrid, so I'm both. Um, I do have some books that are self-published, mostly because they started because they were in a group or something along those lines. I do have some that are with publishers or were previously with publishers that are now out that I put out myself after contracts ended and stuff like that. So, yeah, right now I'm with two publishers, one of which I'm in two different imprints. So I'm in their young adult line, which is called Fire and Ice, and then I'm in their romance line, which is called Satin Romance, but it's under one publisher. And then I have another publisher that I have a book with. But I've gone back and forth between publishers and um, self pubbing. Not from the start, but once I got into self pubbing, I do both now, so it doesn't scare me
Is
as
there
much as it used to.
Is there one that you prefer more over the other? And I ask you that because
Um,
there's a lot of people who self-publish, myself included, and a lot of people who have publishers that are, considering maybe making that transition over to self-publishing.
yeah, I don't. I've been with a lot of smaller presses, so I think um, I would like to get with a larger press if possible, but um, I do like the freedom when it comes to self-publishing that I can, send the book to the editor. I can decide the release date. I don't have to wait for a schedule for the release
Mhm.
date. Because that is one thing that I'm kind of impatient. By the time I get it to the publisher, I'm just like, okay, I'm ready to go. And they're like, okay, it's set for next year. So that's the only hard
Right.
part with with that for me. Because I like meeting new editors where if I'm publishing myself, I tend to stay with the same editors that I know. But
Right?
each editor does something different and they teach me something different. So I kind of like that.
Awesome. So in all of this, all the books that you've written, the 60 plus books that you have, was there a favorite, like a series? I know you said that your standalones always turn into series. So out of all of your books, is there maybe a series, or if you have a standalone out there that was your favorite that you enjoyed writing more, maybe kind of leans towards that one a little bit more than something else?
Um, well, I know which ones are my most popular. Um, there's one series, I have a tattoo series, and I really love that one, and I'd love it to actually kind of take off more, just because the characters, I really enjoy them. My football series, I have a lot of characters in there that I really enjoy too. But I've got, I'm kind of always, whatever I'm working on is kind of my favorite for that moment. There's a lot that I want to go back to that just because of fan wants and or publisher wants that I need to work on those other books. So there's some that are put to the side that I need to finish the series that I really like. I do my cozy mystery. I They're probably my favorite couple, even though it's not a romance because it's a cozy mystery and they're married, and but they're actually probably my favorite couple just because the way that they banter and just how much they support each other. I love them. So
Awesome.
maybe them. I don't know.
Them. It's hard to pick. I know I have several books out too, and well, between the 3 that I have currently and then the 5 that come out this year, and then I have, well, it's looking like 8 next year, but it's kinda hard to pick because there's something about each book that I've enjoyed,
Hmm.
writing, maybe some over more than others, but it is really hard to pick, and out of, 60 plus books, I can't imagine trying, and I know I asked that question to most, and the reason I do that is because some have, like certain things, maybe they got to travel for the book, so they enjoyed it that one a little bit more over something else, or maybe they got to be a part of, if they write mystery or they write detective series, maybe they got to be a part of something live to be able to input into their books.
Yeah. Well, the my cozy mystery is a travel series, so I do take some of my travels and put those in there, so that's fun. But I'm a research person, so like that's part of the reason why I like my one of my older series because I did so much research with it. It's a paranormal, but I like paranormals where you think that it could actually happen, so I like tying it into real events. And
Oh, I like
so,
that.
yeah, it's one of my favorite things. And so I've seen that this with that one I had so much research in it that I just absolutely loved it for that because but there's a research hole that I went into too, which is not a good thing. So,
Right, right. Well, and in all honesty, I think sometimes, us, and it's not just a writer, but it's people in general don't do enough research when they put it in their book. So sometimes it doesn't seem as realistic as what maybe it should,
mhm.
when you read it. I mean, even though they're fiction books, but that's cool that you spent that time to research it for your books.
Yeah, I just there's some writers that do that, and I love that. It's kind of one of my favorite things about their books. So,
Do you have any inspiration behind any of those books other than, like your travels?
um, yeah, well, like my cozy mystery. If you ever watched Heart to Heart back in the day with the
Yep,
married couple, yeah. So that was kind of the inspiration for that. I kind of updated it, and I made them, try since in Heart to Heart they were always traveling somewhere. Um,
right.
I just gave the heroine is a travel vlogger, and her husband's an app designer, so they've got the money to travel wherever they want, and they just have fun when they're doing it, and they just never let a dead body get in the way. And that's kind of so that was kind of inspired a little bit by that. My first book I wrote because I was irritated with another author's book, and I got into the end of the series, and I'm like, really? I was so irritated, and it just kind of spurred me to go a little further in a process that I had kind of started, but I just ignored, and I finally just picked it up and went with it and saw what happened, and it was kind of great. Um, so that's kind of where those have kind of come full circle with those. But yeah, inspiration kind of comes from everywhere for me. I can be driving down the road and I hear a song or I see something or someone asks me a question, and it just I kind of go into my own little space at that point.
Awesome. I know everybody has something different. Some people don't even have any inspiration. They just, their stuff comes to them. Whether they're most people I think I've talked to, they always said it's always when I'm sleeping. Um, but they don't have like any inspiration whatsoever. Um, when it comes to writing their books, it's just kind of something that comes to them and then they just write it.
Mhm.
So, do you ever suffer from writer's block?
All the
And I'm
time.
sure you have.
Yeah. It's called
So, how do you
cleaning.
overcome it? It is.
Well, cleaning and organizing tends to happen more when that happens. And I've got all sorts of little tricks that I use. Sometimes I'll pull out tarot cards and just put them out because the pictures that are drawn on tarot cards are so beautiful that
Mhm.
even if it's just like a short story or something I can get out of it, it brings me back into that. I talk to my characters. I'll ask them. I have like questions that I ask that I need them to answer so I can get going on their story. Basic. There's I have quite a few different ones like what can make you cry, what would you kill for, what's your childhood trauma or whatever, and just kind of write that out and try to figure out from there. I've got dice. I have lots of stuff because yeah, it happens all the time. So just I use a different thing. You never know what it is. It could just be me looking on Instagram for pictures that day to kind of get me thinking of, oh, wait, um, there's this twisted staircase, and oh, that's perfect for this part of the book. And sometimes I'll just jump ahead. I've had to do that in some books where I'll jump ahead and then go back and then connect it because I can see like a scene 4 scenes down, but I don't know how it's supposed to get there. So I jump over and make sure that I go back and I can figure out how to connect it then.
Do you write more than one book at a time, or do you
Yeah,
mainly stick with one?
no, not until
No?
I'm about 50% or 60% through do I stick with just one. Um, which, is kind of probably, I usually have 3 or 4 up. So that way, if one's not talking to me, I can go to the other because I
Yep.
have a lot of active series right now anyway. So I just kind of go with it until one of them will take over. And that's usually when it's at about their halfway point. And then all of a sudden that one's taken off and I can write, that one kind of takes over. And then I'm usually with that one.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I'm usually dabbling in doing an edit on one book, writing on another book, and kind of writing out where I want the other book to go. So that
Hmm.
brings me to my next question. So what is your writing process like? Are you a plotter or are you a pantser?
I'm a planter, which means I used to just be a pantser, but now I loosely plot it, but I don't actually know where it's going to go usually. So half plotting, kind of a pantsing. I co-write with an author, and if we don't plot it out because we're going back and forth with the book, then we wouldn't know where to go. So that series I do at least loosely plot it, and we mostly stick to what the plot is. But yeah, I kind of do a little bit of both.
Awesome. Is there like a certain amount of words that you try to hit in a day? Do you try some authors try to hit a chapter a day. Some say, okay, I need to hit 1,000. Some say I need to hit 5,000. Do you have like a specific?
Well, because I have the day job, I tend to just write on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because I work 4 10s. So I try to do 5 to 6 on Friday, Saturday, Sunday because that's pretty much my only writing time. In the afternoons, I'm usually brain dead to the point that I can't write. I tried waking up before the day job, but I start pretty early, like 4:30.
Mhm.
So waking up at 3:30 to try to write, because usually in the morning is when I can write better. Um, I was finding I wasn't doing anything, so I just use that time to sleep instead, and I get up pretty much the same time that I do for the regular job on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so I don't have sleep-ins on weekends, and I just try to write
Try to write.
five
Do you work
five to
like a
six
specific
in.
you 5 to 6,000?
Yeah,
Yeah, and those are good numbers.
yeah.
And some people say, they don't write enough. That's why it takes them, sometimes a year. They write just until they're ready to be done, and if it's 50, it's 50. If it's, 1,000, but other people have themselves like me. I try to hit 1,000 to 1,500 on a daily. Sometimes it's hard because I do work a full-time day job as well, and then I'm also editing, working on the edits for my side of it before it goes to the editor to make sure it's, I don't want to change something inside the book. So I completely understand. I've thought about doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but it always seems like we're busy on the weekends, so I can never get it in. And I'm like you, mornings are better for writing, but when you're getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, my brain just don't function. I mean, it's functioning, but it's just not functioning enough to be able to sit down and try to hit that out before I have to go to work.
Yeah, so
Make
that's why I do it on the weekends. I try to do it early enough, and my husband's learned he can sleep in on the weekends because I won't be able to do it. I always tell him, just give me till like 10:30 or 11 or maybe noon, and I'll have hit my goal, and then we can do stuff. So,
Go do something.
but
See, and my
yeah,
my husband gets up at 2:30 on the weekends because he gets up at 2:30 during the week to go to work.
yeah,
So, he doesn't ever sleep in, ever. So, yeah, he doesn't have the sleep in time.
yeah. No, mine will stay up late on those days for me, so that way he can sleep in,
Well,
and then he
that's
wakes
nice.
up
At
and
least you can get your
yeah,
stuff done.
yeah. That's in theory. That's what's supposed to
Yeah.
happen. So,
So, what
but
do you need
yeah,
in your
no.
writing space to help you stay focused?
Um,
Anything other than, like, your dice or maybe your tarot cards that you pull out or anything? Is there anything specific?
Um, I do have like I use so Rocketbook has index cards and I use those kind of for my plots and I keep that on my phone. So as long as I just go to that part of my phone, I'm good. It scans in the index cards so that way I can keep that there. Um, but I always joke that my dogs, because I have two dogs that make sure that I get up in the morning. I call them the writing coaches. So the
Yep,
one of
I
them
seen
gives me
that.
side eye quite a bit. Yep, and the other one is, the little one's more demanding, and he'll expect snuggle time, but the one is, yeah, definitely a side eye giver, but that's okay.
Aw.
They kind of keep me on task and make sure I get up in the morning to take care of them and get going.
I have a couple cats help because they all wanna just lay on
Yeah.
my laptop, or if I'm in my office, lay on top of my
Hello?
keyboard or sit in
Oh,
front of my
yeah.
monitors, and yeah, you you get nothing accomplished with them.
No, no.
So if you could spend a day, any day, um, with another popular author, who would you choose and why?
Um, I don't know. Maybe I don't know, either J.R. Ward or Sherilyn Kenyon. I don't, or maybe Judy Blume. Those are kind of,
Oh,
um,
I like it.
yeah. I like Judy because she wrote obviously from little kids to adults, and she still does.
Mhm.
Uh, J.R. Ward, we can see who can raise the most money with the cuss jar, and Sherilyn Kenyon. I haven't met her. She's one of my heroes. Her and Judy are two of them. I have four heroes. I've met two. I haven't So, haven't met Sherilyn or Judy yet, but I've met JR and then Dorinda Jones. But yeah, I think that would be it, just to kind of pick JR Ward's brain, but also see who can win the cuss jar. I guess. I don't know. It seems like a fun person when I met her briefly. So
Oh, so you did actually get to meet her?
I did at a, signing situation like at RWA. So it wasn't, like sat down and had a discussion with her, but she was very nice and stuff. But
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you're done writing your book, whether it's going to the publisher or if it's going to be one that you're going to self-publish, do you do anything to celebrate, or are you like most of us who are like, eh, you know, got it done, on to the next?
Not anymore. I used to. Um, yeah, actually, ironically, I used to read a J.R. Ward book because my due date was usually around the time that one of her books series would come out. So I was like, "Ooh, that's my reward. I can read the latest book." Um, but yeah, no, I kind of haven't for a while. At some point, I need to again because you have your first one that's book release, and then and after that, it's like, no, whatever. And so,
Right.
yeah, I need to, but
And a lot of people, I've talked to a lot of authors and they're like, "Yeah, we go out for dinner, or whatever just to celebrate." And some are like, "No, it's been there, done that, did that for the first couple books, and then it's just I need to get the next one done." So, I like to ask to see if there's anybody that still celebrates. I mean, you've got over 60 books published, so I'm sure especially if it's in like a new series or a new genre, um, getting another book done in your series and completing it.
yeah, no, I probably should again. But yeah, there's my my cozy mystery when it came out. It actually came out on my anniversary, so I mean, we did stuff there, but that was not. I thought it was kind of. I liked that it came out on my wedding anniversary because I'm like, oh, it's a married couple cozy mystery. But yeah, so
That's all. What is
yeah, it was kind of fun.
what is the most valuable piece of advice that you about writing that you would like to share?
Um, the the people reading can't hear the voices in your head. Um, that was probably one of the best when I was working on my first book, um, because I was really bad at dialogue tags. Because I'm sitting there having a conversation and I know exactly who's saying what and how they're saying it and whatever else. And my person's like, I can't hear the voices in your head when I'm reading. Like, well, that's dumb. Why can't you? so, but that's one thing, especially if you're starting out.
Mhm.
Um, she's like, "You have great dialogue. I just can't. I got lost because multiple people were in the room, or I can't hear the snark that you wanted, or I can't hear if he's serious or if he's. So I'm like, okay. So that was probably one of the better pieces of advice I ever got was for some reason readers can't hear what's in my head. How weird is that?
Yeah. Yeah, we know what they're saying because they're talking
Yeah,
constantly. They're
right. And we know their inflection. We know,
Yeah.
obviously who's saying it and all that stuff. But yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, I probably should do something with that.
Well, it's funny because Lee said the youngest one, we were talking about my husband and I were talking about talking to me, and they tell me, like what they want, where they want to go and that
Hmm.
sort of thing. And she looks at me now. She's going to be 19 in August. But this has been several years ago, and she helped because, to them, they don't understand. To somebody who doesn't write, that you've gone loony, and it's like, no, it's the characters. The characters just, and it's hard to explain, but they do.
Right. And it's much like, do you know what's going to happen? No, they haven't told me yet. How do
Right.
you not know? You're the writer. You decide, no, I don't. I wish I did.
No.
I have an idea, but they tend to do whatever they want. And yeah.
And that's why I guess I've never heard of it called a planter before. Said that. I'm
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not a
Yeah.
plotter.
Plancer.
I shouldn't say that. I am okay, this is
Hmm.
about the characters. This is where I'd like for it to go, but it never goes that way. Start and it takes, a left turn in chapter 2, and it's not something because I'm not the one. Like I say, I'm not the one that's writing it, but I'm not the one that's writing it. The characters are writing their.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
what
You think you know where it's
go
going,
ahead, I'm
but it
sorry.
never goes that way. So you think you know where it's going, but it never goes that way.
It never does.
So,
Never that way. Nope, you're right. What do you think is the best way to improve writing?
um, practice. Listen to your editor.
Yep,
Um,
I agree.
yeah, you know, there, I mean, I know there are some books out there, some of those I use, but I think if you get to know your characters better, you will be able to write better because if they're strangers to you, you can't, if you don't know them, then you can't bring them to life. They're just a stranger. So I do think that doing the interviews and just kind of sitting down and talking with your character, which sounds again to the crazy lady, but that's okay. Um, just sitting down and talking to them, finding out what they want, finding out how they were raised. What's that one memory that they just that sticks with them, like they screwed something up at one time, or whatever.
Right.
Um, Getting to know them, then you can tell people about them so they can care about them
I-
because you want to care about these people.
You do. Yep. And I like that information that you just, are putting out there. So with that being said, is there any advice that you can give to maybe the new writers? They're thinking about of putting out a book. I mean, is there any advice that you can give them throughout the decade that you've been writing?
um, Listen to the advice, whether it's positive, negative, probably more the negative, but don't always accept it. Like I had one person that was like, this character has no point because she just read like the first chapter, the first two chapters of the book because it was something. She's like, I don't even know why you put this character in there. He has no point in the book. Well, he was actually the antagonist. It was just she didn't see that in the first two chapters because you're not going to. And so if I would have taken her advice and taken her out, then I wouldn't have had you know, my bad guy. Um, so, but then there's other things like the advice of, I can't hear them, or, you know what, I need to know what happened to this one character's dog because you've got me invested in him, or whatever it is. Those you can take, but um, you don't always have to listen to every single piece of advice. Listen to it, think about it, see how it works with your book, and then go from there.
And that's good advice. Yep, I like that. So before we wrap this up, can you please give and then I'm going to have you send me an email with all of your links as well so I can like upload it to YouTube. But
Okay.
can you give the listeners like where they can find your other than maybe Amazon?
Yeah,
Where else can they find you?
right. Well, I'm on Kobo, Barnes and Noble, Smashwords. There's a couple other places, Apple Books. I'm on Audible so about half my books are in Audible. Um, you can also find me at the library. You just have, because a lot of mine are available through Overdrive and Hoopla, I think is the other one. Depending on which one your library carries, you can always ask them and they can get my books. The biggest thing with me is I was born before spell check. So if you go to my website, it's Michel. So for Michelle, Prince, as in the artist formerly known as, and books. So michelleprincebooks.com. And everything will link out of there also. And that's my website. You can look at some trailers because I have a YouTube channel with my trailers. So if you want to see what my books are about, and links and stuff like that are all on there.
Okay, awesome. And then if you want to ship those on over to me on email,
Mm-hmm.
I will attach all of those to the YouTube channel and all of that. And then I'll
Okay,
send all of it to you.
sounds great.
Awesome. Michelle, well, I thank you so very much for sitting down with me today. And I look forward to meeting you in person next year.
Yes, absolutely. It'll be a great little drive down.
Yes, it will. Thank you
All
so
right,
much, Michelle, and have a
thanks.
wonderful day.
Yep, bye.
Bye bye.